Hello everyone. Sea of Stars. My early backer limited edition has arrived. I'm looking forward to being able to play it handheld on the Switch. And so the story begins. Yes, curiosity did bring me here. I didn't know that, no. A tale of high adventure, magic, deceit and friendship, but mostly of heroism. I like it. Somewhere on Evermist Island. Becoming a solstice warrior? Oh, I'm signing up for this. Well, that's a tough plastic cover to get off. Very protective. So the Kickstarter took place just over 4 years ago in 2020. There we are, that's better. A compact small box. I appreciate that these days, with storage being an ever-present problem. So, slip cover off. Back then, 4 years ago, I had several Kickstarters on the go, and I have to say, out of all the ones I've experienced in the last 4 to 5 years, this was probably the one that I thought was conducted in the most efficient and professional manner. They always kept us informed. What they promised, they delivered. And I guess the only issue really were delays at the end with physical production, but that's of course not news because practically everybody is affected by that in the industry. So Sabotage Studio asked Limited Run Games to deal with the physical editions, the limited editions, and I'm hoping that the contents won't disappoint. Once both your body and mind are ripe with potential, you will create a magic piece of fabric worthy of the very stars. You will then be sent to meet with the Elder Mist to be officially granted the title of Solstice Warrior. Years of sewing. It's now so long ago, I can't remember what is supposed to be in here, and I deliberately haven't looked it up because a surprise is always the best thing, isn't it? Sea of Stars, the game. I couldn't know 4 years ago that this would be a real big hit for Sabotage Studio, and I'm really, really happy it turned out that way. But I like to think I have a good eye for quality, and I could see even all those years ago that there was something special there. Many, if not most of you, will have played the game by now. You just have to look at the absolutely gorgeous pixel art, and you'll be smitten. Now, I have to say here that I'm not always the biggest fan of pixel art. There's pixel art, and there's pixel art. I didn't grow up with the old games based on 8-bit, 16-bit, and then finally 32-bit. I haven't had that early exposure to pixel art. I do like a lot of it, especially in the classic games, although my aging eyes certainly appreciate something like an HD 2D overhaul. But there have been a lot of indie games in the last few years who have been, to my mind, riding a bit the bandwagon of pixel art is cool, so we'll make a game. Well, you need to have very, very good artists to pull that off. And it's an incredible amount of work. So if you don't put that in, it's not gonna be very convincing. So Sea of Stars is practically a textbook example of how to do good pixel art, and I'm sure many developers will be taking a very close look at it. But I'm taking a very close look now, finally, at what's inside this box. The box is just ordinary thinner cardboard, so not the very, very thick one that's quite stiff, but it seems to be just about, I would say, strong enough to hold the contents. I know this is a nitpicky little thing I have, but the opening flap is actually good. I was able to pull it up without twisting anything or having a little tear at the side here where you got those little latches sometimes. You know what I mean. Highly annoying. So that's good. Side quest completed. This guy's finally getting his much needed bath. So let's start unwrapping. Original soundtrack. Have I played the game? Yes, of course I have. I got my codes from the developers. I seem to think it was probably back in August last year, and I've got it both on Xbox and PS4 digitally, and have been playing it on both. Very early on, you are introduced to the traditional RPG save point. It's a book. The pause menu gives you access to the very clearly laid out tutorial. More on that later. This is a game you can easily replay. I found it just so nice going back and finding a few different things, just remembering how everything worked, especially since there are no proper maps. So you need to memorize a lot, and as you know, I tend to rely on maps, so this is unusual for me to play and like a game that has no maps. I found that I coped all right, but as I said, the old memory needs to be in working order. So here we have an enamel pin. So being covered both on Xbox and PlayStation 4, I decided to get the Switch physical copy. And there's something inside the case. A small poster of our three protagonists, Zale, Valere and Garl, in orange and in blue, in keeping with the general styling of the game and how they've done the promotional shots. So this looks like an acrylic standee. I'll see if I can quickly put that up. They pop out, but you got to get that backing off, which is awkward for old fingers. I'm not usually the biggest fan of acrylic standees, but I think this one is actually quite nice. And what's also important, the pieces actually fit together properly. I had to push them in quite strongly, and they're very secure now. I've got a lot of little standees where the cutouts are not precisely done and everything wobbles about, and the moment you brush against it they will fall over. Highly annoying. But this one is very solid, and certainly on mine the cutouts are just spot on. So last item is a little cardboard wallet. I imagine there will be art cards in there. Okay, let's have a look. Instruction booklet. Playing wheels, yeah. One can get caught up in that. Collecting fishes, all the fishes are there. I always have to get a complete set of fishes in any game. It requires patience and finesse to reel in your fish. When the trout jumps, you can stun it if you're quick, And there we have our lunar trout. But the fighting fish can easily break your line. The timing, the all-important timing, is explained here. Reading the battlefield, I think the tutorial in-game is incredibly good. Here are some examples from the help files showing the type of information that will pop up at relevant points in the early parts of the game to help with the easy to learn but harder to master combat strategy. It just sticks to the essentials and explains them very succinctly and very well. Okay, the game is not overcomplicated, but it is still quite a skill to write a really good tutorial that doesn't interfere with people actually wanting to get into the game and playing it, but still teaches you the important bits you need to know. Here's an example of Valera scooping up some live mana orbs to power up her crescent moon attack, which the salamander is vulnerable to. In response, what does he do? He gulps down Garl and spits him out again and causes some damage. I love how inventive many of the enemy attacks and combat gimmicks often are. I also love how Garl can chuck enemies to a more convenient spot. And here is Zale charging up his sun ball and knocks out one of the guard breaks for that bush true. And a combo strike knocks out more of his guard blocks. Never underestimate the damage Garl can do with his shield. Nice load of live mana enables another combo strike, and this one sends the fella to Bush True Retirement Village. Multiple enemies can cause a real headache, especially at lower levels. And there are some illustrations of the playable characters, and they're really nice illustrations. Garl. You gotta love Garl. Every group of friends needs a Garl. It is very small, it is on the tiny side, but there's a lot in here. Okay, my certificate. That's an unusual number, 7,350 total. Okay. On the back there's a message to our esteemed backers. We thank you for helping our dream exist and hope you are looking forward to many more adventures, is the last sentence there of the message. Now, as a backer, you were able to pick your name to be entered in the credits, I think. So, I obviously stuck with Food for Dogs. And you could have a little memorial stone in-game. And I'm not sure I have found mine yet, but one of my followers on Twitter did and posted a screenshot showing that he'd found my memorial stone, which was, kind of cool. So I'm definitely keeping an eye out for that. So you're the very last travelling historian? At this point, I might as well be the first. It's been so long since all the law grimoires were burned. They're enchanted books that write themselves by touching artifacts with stories to tell. And here is a slightly bigger poster, one-sided, for the game. Also very nice. I'm a poster gal. I do like my posters. That'll probably end up getting laminated. Puzzles. Lots of puzzles. Big and small. Everywhere. Thankfully, not too difficult. And that's it for the Backers Limited Edition. No really big, expensive items in here, but a nice range. Apart from the game, you've got a 2-disc soundtrack, a small but well-designed little manual with illustrations, a certificate, a large poster, a smaller poster inside the game case, and, of course, the acrylic standee. I think actually looks surprisingly good. But overall, Sea of Stars was one of last year's highlights for me in the RPG space, especially from smaller indie studios. I remember there was a second one which equally impressed me, and that is Chained Echoes. I decided to go with the physical Kickstarter backing for Sea of Stars, and I'm happy to say I haven't regretted it. So I hope you enjoyed this little unboxing. As always, thank you very much for watching. Please keep well. I'm Food for Dogs. Bye-bye.